activist. Welcome, Umar.
Thank you very much, everybody. Good afternoon and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I'd like to first of all start off by thanking Michaela, Martin, Belle, Susan for making the arrangements to get me here to speak, because I thought that at such a fantastic unity rally it was important to have a Muslim voice. Can you hear us now? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to start shouting. Yeah. So it's really important that we've got the Muslim voice here. So I'm really grateful for those who have organized and arranged for this. Yeah, make some noise, really, thank you. You know, I really thought about what needed to be said here today, and, you know, looked at so many different protests, the news, really looking at what kind of messages are being pushed out, particularly the positive messages. And I realized that every time I Googled something, every time I went on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, it was all negativity. It was always sharing the Nigel Farage, the Tommy Robinsons, and unfortunately it really looked like there was nothing positive happening. And when people go online, it really starts to depress them, because all they can see is the negative messaging that's coming out. And sadly, when the far right and others who may not identify as far right but definitely push the hatred, when they see groups like this and events like this, it makes them scared. And they realize that they've got something huge on their hands that they need to tackle. And when they see massive crowds like this, and they look at themselves and they see 20 or 30 idiotic rioters, I should say, not even protesters, because they're just looking for an excuse to loot, to steal, to chant far right messaging, they realize to themselves that actually they don't have the strong foothold that they actually think they do. So a big shout out to yourselves, a massive shout out to yourselves. You know, we're not going to stand by idly as people fan the flames of hate. They play divisive politics and they spread racism. But when you look at communities like this beautiful borough of Lambeth, it thrives with its diversity. And it thrives with its minority communities. Now, I moved to Lambeth quite young, and I came from Bradford. So I came from pretty much an all Asian community to, at the time, an all black community. And what we realized was that actually there's more that they say there's a lot of divisions, but actually there's a lot that brings us together. So, thank you. So I want to tell you a few things about Lambeth in particular, because a lot of people will be looking at this and saying, oh, we're responding to far right extremism, we're only coming out because something has happened. And actually that's not the case. We come together proactively year on year, month on month, whether it's to celebrate a Jewish holiday, whether it's a Muslim festivity, whether it's Easter or Christmas, whether we're celebrating Remembrance Sunday just a few moments from here, literally in Windrush Square. We are celebrating things in advance, and we're coming together at times of happiness, at times of joy, and at sad times like this, when we are reminded why we need to do these things, why we need to come together proactively. Now, we celebrate that diversity, that culture, that faith throughout the year. But what can we be doing as communities to ensure that the far right cannot thrive in boroughs like Lambeth and elsewhere? We need to be checking in on each other. If COVID hasn't taught us that, I'm not sure what will. People have been left at home on their own. Mosques have really had their communities decimated, churches the same. We've had synagogues the same, we've had temples the same, where communities are no longer able to come out. So we have to check in on each other, and events like this allow us to do that. It allows us to build relationships, it allows us to build friendships amongst different communities, and if we don't build those bridges now, we never will. When I saw this blatant Islamophobia being peddled by the far right, and I heard various interviews and call-ins on radio stations, it took me back to Remembrance Sunday last year, when we were probably at the height of the Palestine-Israel conflict. And at a time like that, we did not allow divisive politics to divide our faith leaders. And I, alongside our Jewish and Christian and other faith leaders, came together and we stood strong. Because we will not allow people to divide us, to spread hate, or to allow rampant racism to seep into every aspect of our society. As was said earlier, it's a matter in housing, it's a matter at the workplace. I myself think quite often about how it is that we can bring ourselves together to allow people to understand what it is that these migrant communities are offering to our society. Someone said earlier that statistics often remove or dehumanize situations. I find that to be true. But what it also does is it allows us to understand the level and just the gravity of the situation. Because if we're not able to grasp the situation, we can never handle the situation. We can never get the truth out there. So when communities like Tommy Robinson's community, or far-right racists, just want to come in and spread their hate, what are we going to say to them? Are we going to allow them to come in, or are we going to tell them, get lost? Yes. Are we going to say to them, no to hate? No to hate. Are we going to say, please come in? Are we going to let the foxes in? No. Hell no. What we're going to do is we're going to create the accountability that we need, and it starts from grassroots levels. Because the councils, the government, they're not taking enough of a strong stance against the far right. We often find that it's Muslim communities being targeted by prevent. What are they preventing? They're not preventing the far right. They're not preventing hate, because it's continuing, and unfortunately now we have one of those who spread hate in our parliament. Well, we've got a few, we've had 14 years of it. But we've got a lot more now, 5. We've got Reform UK coming in. So we have to do a lot more, we have to redouble our efforts. But I'm not just saying it as the politicians do, redouble efforts. What does that mean? It means we need to be gathering like this more often. And we need to ensure that we're countering their negative narrative about the Muslim community. Our mosque was targeted, which is based in Stockwell. We've had our Imam's car smashed, the window smashed, not now but previously. We've had threats of far right going down Stockwell Road, their protests or their riots. But it's not going to happen as long as we're doing this. And I want to end on 2 particular points. The first is that we need to start getting our younger generation involved a lot more. And I say that as a governor for Early Years Federation here based in Lambeth. I say that as a vice chair of an independent advisory group for the police. I I say that as a mosque trustee, I say that as a housing association director, because I'm grateful that my dad is standing right here next to me, and without him I wouldn't be here today, because honor the father, not the sins of the father. But
you have no sins.
I say that because whilst my father set the foundation for communities to grow, and while he was on that journey, he kept me close to him 24/7.
Old friends here.
Yeah, there are old friends here, absolutely. When I was just a youngster, and I was at 13, 14, 15, getting involved in activities with the Mayor of London coming to our mosques. And when he ended up getting called to the international scene, he had to pass the baton on to somebody, and that was me, effectively. So all these boards that I sit on, all these community groups that I support, it's really because of my father. So a round of applause for my father, please. And it's the Stop the War groups and all these different coalitions that my dad was involved in, and now I'm getting involved in the same things. So I'd like to invite you all to the mosque, to Stockwell Mosque, 35 Stockwell Green, SW9 9HZ, next Friday, after the Friday prayers. Have lunch with us and come and see what the mosque is about, because the Muslim community is here to stay. We're not going anywhere. And there's a lot of intersectionality when it comes to our faith. So whether they say all non-whites are not welcome here, well, guess what? Everyone is welcome here in Lambeth, and everyone is welcome to our mosque. So I'd like to end by thanking you all for coming here tonight, for coming here today, for being involved in all the different protests and the unity rallies that you're being involved in. Because without you guys, this community is not going to thrive. And we thrive in diversity. We say no to racism, no to Islamophobia. We're all welcome here, no matter what background you're from, no matter what faith you're from, no matter what country and religion you're from. So thank you very much. Round of applause, everybody.